Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Over the last years you've probably seen me shooting a lot of different cameras on this channel, and most of them have been film cameras. Well, it's been almost 5 years since I've started shooting film, and ever since there have been a lot of changes in my film camera lineup. There are some cameras that were and still are featured a lot on my channel, and some you only see maybe once in a while. And in the last couple of months I got a lot of questions like, what happened to your X-Pan? Have you sold your X-Pan? Yes, the last time it made an appearance on my channel was last year when I came back from Malta. But there's a reason for it, and I'll explain a little bit later in the video. Another thing that I'd like to address is a new addition to the channel, and that is a brand new camera, and more specifically it's a new medium format camera that I just picked up recently. And I'm holding it in my hands right now, but the big reveal will happen a little bit later on in this video. Now let me show you my current lineup one by one before we come to the really exciting stuff later on. A camera that has been on the channel almost since the beginning is this Leica M6, and it's a camera that I absolutely love. I've taken it to so many places around this world, and it's simply a pleasure to use. I can't really think of a better film camera for street photography, especially in combination with this awesome 28mm Summicron. For sure, this would be my desert island film camera. Over the last years, it only failed once on me while I was in Egypt shooting for this zine here, the Zine 28. Which is still available. But back then I was shooting a different lens, a different 28mm lens. It was a 28mm Elmarit that Leica gave me for a month to try out. Now what happened back then was that a spring below the shutter speed dial snapped, and you could freely turn the dial without any resistance. And it happened on my first day after arriving in Cairo. I was shocked because I had no backup camera, so the whole idea of shooting for a zine in Cairo could have failed from the start. Luckily, later that day I did some testing and it seemed that the shutter speeds were still working. What I did then was to set the camera to 1/250th, and I taped the dial in place because I didn't want to take the chance of breaking the camera even more. Now that's how I shot the entire zine at 1/250th with a broken Leica M6, and it turned out great, and that was a massive relief, I have to say. Other than that, I had no issues at all, and the only thing I changed on the camera is the advance lever, because I've never been a fan of the original one. This one you'll also find on the Leica M3 and on the most recent film Leicas like the MP or the MA. With that experience in mind, I thought it might be a good idea to pick up a backup M6, just in case if I'm planning on going to do a similar project and something happens to the camera again. A few months later, I had the chance to pick up another M6 for an unbelievable price, and of course I didn't hesitate and acquired this black M6 Classic. I also had it modified with the metal advance lever, and that is the camera that I used over the 4 months that I spent in Mexico earlier this year. Now, even though I have two M6 bodies, I haven't brought both on a trip, but more on that a little bit later. Besides these two Leicas, I have another rangefinder here right now, but it's a loaner from a friend, and it's this really nice Yashica Electro 35, which is a great camera with a fixed 45mm lens. I filmed a video with this last year in Berlin, maybe you remember. And if you're new to film photography or you want to get an affordable rangefinder camera, it might be a really good option. However, for me it's not a camera I would use a lot, since I'm not a fan of the focal length, and the lack of full manual control is another deal breaker for me. But if you don't want to deal with exposure settings, then it could be an advantage for you nevertheless. Okay, the next camera that I featured on this channel and that I like a lot is this beautiful black Nikon FM2n. Especially with this very compact Voigtlander 40mm f2 Ultron, it's a really nice package. I mean, the camera is much more advanced than any of the film Leicas that I have. It has a maximum shutter speed of 1/4000th and a flash sync of 1/250th, which is absolutely amazing if you consider how old this camera is, and it's a film camera. I like to use this camera for general photography, but not so much for street photography, since I prefer rangefinder cameras over SLRs for that. I've already made a video about it where I explain my reasons in more detail, and I'll put the link in the video description. Now let's finally address what's going on with my Hasselblad X-Pan, a camera that has been on the channel from the start, and I've made 2 zines with images from the X-Pan, from which one is still available. And the link will be in the description box below this video. Shameless plug. Yeah, like I just said, it's a camera that was here from the beginning, and I got so many questions whether or not I sold my X-Pan, and the answer is no, I still have it here. However, there are reasons why I haven't used it a lot in the past. For instance, when I went to Mexico, I had very limited room for camera gear, and everything had to fit in this bag here. And for me that was very easy because I only wanted to bring the Q2 monochrome and the Leica M6. Yes, it would have been great to have more options, but traveling with less gear is much more enjoyable, and I'm glad that I only brought 2 cameras with me. On top of that, there's another reason, and that is that I had and still have issues with my X-Pan. The problem is that the camera wouldn't load film, and it seems like that there's a small pin on the spool. It seems like it's worn off or whatever because it's not gripping the film leader. Now, I need to get that fixed, but in the meantime, I managed to come up with a short-term fix, and I simply use a small snippet of tape to put the film in place, and that gets the job done for now. I've already filmed new episodes recently in Russia using the X-Pan, and that was good fun. I have to say, it was really nice fun using this again, but you'll see those in the not so distant future. Okay, that's it for 35mm cameras. Let's talk about medium format. Right now I own 2 medium format cameras. This awesome Mamiya C330 here, and it's a camera that it's been on the channel almost since the beginning, I think, and I don't use it a lot, but that shouldn't be a surprise since it's not specifically small and lightweight. It almost weighs 2 kilo and it's not very travel friendly. Alright, next up is the reveal of my new medium format camera. Maybe you have seen the 2 videos that I filmed in Mexico where I was trying out possible contenders. And one was the Fuji GF670, which was good fun shooting the camera, but it had some quirks that I didn't like too much. My main issue was that in order to take a photo in horizontal orientation, you had to hold the camera in portrait mode. If you shoot a lot of vertical portraits, then it's absolutely fantastic, but for me that was really awkward. On the other hand, the camera had a 45mm lens, which roughly translates to a 28mm when compared to a 35mm camera, and it also is very lightweight. The second camera I was able to give a try was the Makina 6.7, which shoots larger negatives, has an amazing 80mm lens, and it is fairly lightweight too. But the model I shot had some technical issues, and in general it felt a little bit too bulky for me. When I uploaded these videos, you guys recommended a lot of alternatives, and I wasn't even aware of some of those. For instance, like the Bronica RF, which seems to be an absolutely great camera, but it shared the same issue that I had with the Fuji, and that is if you want to take a horizontal shot, you have to hold the camera in vertical orientation, and for me, it's a deal breaker, unfortunately. Then there's the Mamiya 7, which is an absolutely outstanding camera, but it got really expensive, and also I wanted a camera that weighs even less than that. So as you can see, most of the options are not what I was looking for. But there are 2 cameras out there that fulfill my requirements almost to 100%. And one of those popped up and the price was good, so I had to get it. And now I've made a little camera porn to introduce you to my new medium format camera. Okay, let's roll. This beautiful Fuji 670 is my new medium format camera. Yes, there is a second version of this camera out there that has a fixed 55mm lens, and that would probably be the perfect camera for street photography for me. However, when I heard about the Fuji GF670, my first thought was that I'd like to own both. The only problem is about that is that these cameras are not cheap, and the wider version of this is even more expensive, and it's probably double what I paid for this. And that is a very hard pill to swallow. Now, since I'd like to use this camera also for portraits, the lens on here actually makes sense as a general purpose medium format camera it has two major benefits over other options out there. Folded down, it is extremely compact for a 6x7 camera, and it's very comparable to a Leica. It's a little bit bigger, but not by much. And it weighs only 1 kilo, which is insane. And it's the same weight basically as my Hasselblad X-Pan, which is absolutely unbelievable. Alright, I will give you more details about the camera and my impressions in a future video. But now I can't wait to get out and put some rolls through it very, very soon. Okay guys, that's it for today's video about my current film camera lineup, and the next video will be again all about street photography. As always guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see each other very soon in the next one. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.